Hello, this is Two Ladies Midwest Adventures. I'm Julietta, and I'm reading Heaven is Real. We are on chapter 13. Sonia drove in from Colorado Springs on Saturday evening, and as we huddled in the living room, I can't use proper English for once in my life. Sonia drove in from Colorado Springs on Saturday evening. And as we huddled in the living room over glasses of Pepsi, I filled her in on the rest of what Colton had said. What have we been missing? I wondered aloud. I don't know, she said. It's like he just pops out with new information all of a sudden. I want to know more, but I don't know what to ask him. We are both teachers. Sonia in the formal sense and I in the pastoral sense. We agreed that the best way to proceed was just to keep asking open-ended questions as the situation presented itself, not filling any blanks for Colton as I had, inadvertently. When I suggested the word crown, when Colton was describing the gold thing on Jesus' head, in the coming years we would stick to that course so carefully that he didn't know how to. He would stick to that course so carefully that Colton didn't know the word sash until he was 10 years old. A couple of days after the conversation about markers, I was sitting on the kitchen table preparing a sermon, and Colton was playing nearby. I looked up from my books and over at my son, who was armed with plastic swords and in the process of tying the corners of a towel around his neck. Every superhero needs a cape. I knew I wanted to ask him about heaven again, and had been turning over possible questions in my mind. I had never had a conversation like this with Colton before, so I was a little nervous about how to begin. In fact, I never had a conversation like this with anyone before. Trying to catch him before he actually did battle, I got Colton's attention and motioned him to come sit with me. He trotted over and climbed into the chair at the end of the kitchen table. Yes? Remember when you were telling me what Jesus looks like? And about the horse? He nodded, eyes wide and earnest. You were in heaven. He nodded again. I realized I was starting to accept that, yes, maybe Colton really had been to heaven. I felt like our family had received a gift, and having just peeled back the top layer of tissue paper, knew its general shape. Now I wanted to know what was all in the box. Well, what did you do in heaven? I ventured. Homework? That wasn't what I was expecting. Choir practice? Maybe, but homework? What do you mean? Colton smiled. Jesus was my teacher. Like school? Colton nodded. Jesus gave me work to do, and that was my favorite part of heaven. There were lots of kids, Dad. The statement marked the beginning of a period that I wish I had written down. During this conversation for the next year or so, Colton could name a lot of kids he said were in heaven with him. He doesn't remember their names, though, and neither do Sonia nor I. This was also the first time Colton had mentioned other people in heaven. I mean, other than Bible figures like John the Baptist. But I have to admit, that I sort of thought of him as, well, a character, more than a regular person like you and me. Sounds like kind of a dumb sense. Christians talk all the time about going to heaven when we die. Why wouldn't I expect that Colton would have seen ordinary people? But all I could think to ask was, so what did the kids look like? What do people look like in heaven? Everybody's got wings, Colton said. Wings, huh? Wings? Huh? Did you have wings, I asked. Yeah, but mine weren't very big. He looked a little glum when he said this. Okay. Did you walk places or did you fly? We flew. We all, except for Jesus. He's the only one in heaven who didn't have wings. Jesus just went up and down like an elevator. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, that is.
The book of Acts flashed into my head. The scene of Jesus' ascension. When Jesus told the disciples that they would be his witnesses, that they would tell people all over the world about him. After he said this, the scripture says, Jesus was taken up before their eyes, and a cloud hid him from their sight. They were looking intently up into the sky as he was going, and suddenly 2 men dressed in white stood beside them. The men of Galilee. They said, "Why do you stand here looking into the sky? This same Jesus who had been taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you have seen him go into heaven." Jesus went up and will come down without wings to a kid that could look like an elevator. Colton broke into my thought. Everyone kind of looks like angels in heaven, Dad. What do you mean? All people have a light above their head. It racked my brain for what I knew about angels and light in the Bible. When angels show up, they're sometimes dazzling bright, blinding almost. When Mary Magdalene, I think, and the other woman showed up beside Jesus' tomb on the 3rd day after he was buried, the Gospels say that an angel met them, sitting on the tombstone that had somehow been rolled away. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. I remember that the book of Acts talks about the disciples as he was being accused of heresy before a Jewish court. They saw that his face had become bright as an angel's. Not long after, Stephen was stoned to death. The Apostle John in the book of Revelation wrote that he saw a mighty angel coming down from heaven, surrounded by a cloud with a rainbow over his head, and that the angel's face shone like the sun. I don't remember angels having lights over their heads specifically, or halos, as some would call them. But I also knew that Colton's experience of angels in storybooks and scripture did not include lights over angels' head. And he didn't even know the word halo. I don't know that he'd ever seen one, since our bedtime Bible stories and the Sunday school lessons at church are closely aligned with scripture. Still, what he said intrigued me for another reason. A friend of ours, the wife of a pastor at the church in Colorado, had once told me about something her daughter, Hannah, said when she was 3 years old. After a morning service was over one Sunday, Hannah tugged on her mom's skirt and asked, "Mommy, why do some people in church have lights over their heads and some don't?" At the time, I remember thinking 2 things. First, I would have knelt down and asked Hannah, "Did I have a light over my head? Please say yes." Also, I wondered what Hannah had seen, whether she had seen it because, like my son, she has a childlike faith. When the disciples asked Jesus, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, he called a little boy from the crowd and had him stand among them as an example. "I'll tell you the truth," Jesus said. "Unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Whoever humbles himself like this child. What is childlike humility? It's not a lack of intelligence, but the lack of I think. The lack of agenda that is precious. There are pictures here. It's supposed to be... I can't read backwards, my bad. Colton's 3-year-old preschool photo, October 2002. Doc's Dodgers. Todd and Sonia Code softball team. Code. Todd and Sonia and Colton at the Denver Butterfly Pavilion in March 2003. Colton holding Rosie the tarantula with his older sister Cassie watching. Right there. No, wait, right there. My bad. There. And then there. Photo from the Imperial Republican newspaper. Colton and Todd 1 week after Colton's hospital release. Colton's 4th birthday party. A real celebration. May 19, 2003. There. Right there. Colton, Todd, Sonia, and Cassie at Sioux Falls, South Dakota, July 2003. Colton's first day of second year preschool, September 2003. Todd and Colton, November 2003. There's that one. There's those two. Colton at the age of 7 and Colby at 18 months playing swords. Colton, aka The Flash, October 2007. What if a sword fight's cute? I would do that with my sister. We would do that with sticks, though. Lawrence Barber, Poppet, age 29, with Grandma Ellen, Uncle Bill, and Todd's mom, Kay, 1943. Lawrence Barber, Poppet, age 61. What is that? Sorry, I got the desk stopping. I'm holding the book right. And there's Pop. And then I love this one. That's the Prince of Peace. I can add a picture of it in color. The story behind that was really cool, too. Cassie, Todd, Colby, Sonia, and Colton at Todd's cowboy-themed 40th birthday party, August 2003. And there we go. Fleeting time before we had accumulated through a pride or possession to care what other people might think. The same self-conscious, honestly, that embles a 3-year-old to splash joyfully in a rain puddle or tumble laughing in the grass with a puppy. Or point out loudly that you have a booger hang out from your nose is what is required to go to heaven. It is the opposite of ignorance. It is intellectual honesty to be willing to accept reality and call things what they are, even when it's hard. All this flashed through my mind in an instant, but I remained non-committal. A light, huh? Was all I said. Yeah, they have yellow from here to here, he said, making the sash motion again. Left shoulder to right hip. She realized my cup's yellow too. He said, okay. And white from here to here. He placed his hands on his shoulders, then bent forward and touched the tops of his feet. I thought of the man who appeared to the prophet Daniel on the 24th day of the first month. As I was standing on the bank of the great river, the Tigris, I think that's Tigris, I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of the finest gold around his waist. His body was like chrysolite, I think. His face like lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs like a gleam of burnished bronze. Colton then made a sash motion again and said that people in heaven wore different colors than angels did. By now my new information meter was nearly pegged, but there was one more thing I had to know. Colton really had been to heaven and really seen all these things. Jesus, horses, angels, and other children, and was up there. Was it up? Long enough to do homework. How long had he left his body as he claimed? I looked at him kneeling in the kitchen chair with his towel cape, and it's still tied around his neck. Colton, you said you were in heaven and did all these things, a lot of things. How long were you gone? The little boy looked me right in the eye and didn't hesitate. 3 minutes, he said, then hopped down from the chair and skipped off to play. And that is the end of chapter 13. Like and subscribe so we can get to 1,000 to start beekeeping.
1,000 subscribers. So we can start.
That's what I said.
You said.
I said like and subscribe so we can get 1,000 subscribers to start beekeeping.
You said to get to 1,000.
Yeah.
You didn't say subscribers.
Huh?
You're just confusing me. I'll pull it back in the footage.
You're confusing me.
Well,
Brain damage.
try.
Brain damage. She does brain damage to me.
No. You have bad memory.
Try to remember that you're the one who has bad memory.
Try to remember you just messed up in a couple of minutes.
No, I didn't. And you have no proof of it.
Yes, I do. It's video evidence.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because it proves me right.
And it also proves.
Okay, hush. Stay blessed. Make the world a better place, one person, one moment at a time. Bye.
Like and subscribe so we can get to 1,000 subscribers so we can start beekeeping.
Okay.